Hey guys, welcome back to take 3 of part 6 in the Void Linux installation series.
That was my line.
Now, the first thing that we're going now this is going to be almost the last part of the series, which is going to be finishing up our
Almost
copying, and we're going to be booting into a brand new system,
pasting.
and we're going
Oh,
to be setting up EFI boot manager. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to the slash boot directory, and if you remember, we have
already.
mounted our ESP or EFI system partition. This is the first partition that we created and formatted as FAT in slash boot slash EFI. We have mounted there. So we need to copy our init ramfs and our Linux kernel executable into that. So let's just do that real quick. So let's copy our init ramfs as init ramfs. Let's copy this to
Ah,
EFI
yes.
slash init ram fs.image. Now the reason why I'm not putting the kernel version after this is because it is easier to update this way, and
Totally.
EFI boot manager doesn't mess anything up if you do it this way. And all you have to do is you have to remember that it's also easier to type. All you have to do when you're updating, I'll make a tutorial on how to update with EFI boot manager, but all I'll say is this is just easier to type for now and update later on. And we also want to
Totally.
copy our Linux kernel executable as VM Linux. Now we'll go to EFI, and you can see that we've got our kernel and init ramfs there. Now, typically before you do this, you would want to type in xpps reconfigure -fa. This will generate a whole new init ramfs based on your edited fstab and a bunch of other stuff. So you know what, just because I
Totally.
can, I will go ahead and do this, and then I will recopy these things.
Yes.
Alright guys, so we're done with the reconfigure. That was actually pretty quick. It was under 30 seconds, and it might take a little longer for you, but it was still pretty quick. So now the only thing you have to do is you have to copy our init ramfs, and bam, that's all you
Uh,
have to do. We've already copied the kernel there. So the
I
next thing
think
that
I
you want,
just found my next alleyway.
the next thing you want to do is you want to type in EFI boot manager, and make sure this is installed. If this isn't installed, this should give you an error. Instead of showing this, all you want to do is xbps install -s capital S and EFI boot manager. As you
Yes,
can see, it's
yes.
already installed for me. Now, what we want to do is we want to actually create a new boot entry with EFI boot manager. So we'll do -c. The name of this entry, the label will be void VM, and the
Totally.
loader, the executable that we're going to be calling when the system starts up, is going to be /vmlinux. And now keep in mind, I'm not typing the kernel version here because I copied it to the boot partition without the kernel number. Now, the backslash here is because UEFI, quite a lot like Windows, uses backslashes instead of front slashes to dictate its paths. This isn't cool, but it's just the way it works. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to give the kernel some parameters. You can do this with the -u and two double quotes. This is the Unicode, and to send to the kernel. So the first thing that we're going to be sending to the kernel is the part
Uh,
UUID of our root partition. So
isn't this a pizza tutorial?
the first thing you want to do is you want to type this out, this, and then we're just going to use the blkid command that we used before for swap, but instead for -s we're going to type in part UUID and
Ah,
/dev
yes.
/sda3. Now keep in mind I'm using /dev /sda3. It might be 2 for you because if you're not installing swap. Now the next thing you want to type out is rw. Now another thing you can do is give the kernel a resume parameter. Now this is useful if you want to enable the hibernation features of the kernel, but if I would recommend having a swap of a minimum of the size or more of your RAM if you want hibernation. I don't have that. I've given this VM 8 GB of RAM, but my
Sad.
swap is only 512 MB. so I'm not going to be enabling hibernation for this. But what we do want to do for our third and final parameter, we're going to be giving this the location of the init rd or the init ramfs. This is just backslash init ramfs dot image. And again, I'm not
Absolutely.
typing in the kernel version here because I didn't copy it like that. Now before I actually enter this command, I just want to see what it sends to EFI boot manager and verify it's correct. So as you can see, that's our part UUID for slash dev slash SDA3. So let's do blkid slash dev slash SDA. And as you can see, for slash dev slash SDA3, that matches the part UUID. So that's correct. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to enter that command. And as you can see in the boot order, the first thing is 004, which is void VM. If you want to see what void VM is, you can specify you can run EFI boot manager with the verbose switch, and it'll tell you all the
Just
parameters that
listen
you're
to him.
sending. Now we finished our installation of void Linux, and the last thing you want to do is you want to exit the root, and you just want to reboot.
Is the pizza ready yet?
Almost.
Almost there.
And as you guys can see, that's a perfect void Linux installation
Pizza time.
without using grub. And um, I should probably install neofetch.
Why not?
And you might have to configure some things in your resolve.conf, because right now I'm not connected to the net, so installing neofetch won't really work.
Wait,
But
what?
you can find the link for the wiki in the description, and
That was my line. Oh god.
and you can those are the documentations that you can see here. It has support for graphical sessions, network managing, firewalls, a bunch of cool stuff. And
Free white hat session.
yeah, so that is Void Linux on a VM without grub. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.